Welcome to the Adulting Podcast. I'm Zach Peter, a naturally platinum blonde podcaster, author, and sassy self-improvement addict spewing all those burning questions you're too afraid to ask.
And I'm Abigail Freyer, an unfiltered boss babe, daylighting as a lifestyle guru, stirring the pot on social issues. We're here to help you look cute,
Live well,
work hard,
and stay woke.
Together,
let's conquer adulting. Welcome back to the hashtag Adulting Podcast, everybody. I'm Zach Peter.
And I'm Abigail Freyer.
How you doing? How's that New York life?
Oh my God, it's so good. The hair is huge. Clearly, the humidity's like not letting me live with a straight do at all. But it's great. It's busy. The Wi-Fi is horrible. So.
Oh, technology.
I know. I miss the dry heat.
Hopefully we can connect to like a different dimension that can help with these technological Wi-Fi issues, because today's guest is probably like a spiritual gangster if I ever knew one. He's a former fitness model that fell out of love with religion and fell in love with inner peace. Please welcome the super hunky and super spiritually woke YouTube philosopher Aaron Abke.
That was easily the best intro I've ever had.
He hears that all the time. Like everyone tells him that his intros like have never been beaten. It's insane.
That was
I kind of
amazing.
want him to do one for me just to have one.
Aaron, so we like to start every conversation off with some icebreakers that Abigail is going to throw at you. And these are basically just like fun questions to kind of humanize you so that we can see that behind the good looks and the aura of like positivity that there's a real person in there that we can connect with.
I'm up to it. Let's do it.
So we're going to start with, it's called Espresso Yourself. So we're going to get you going. I can't start my morning without.
Cold brew coffee. Next.
Okay, cold brew. Okay. When I go to the gym, I
Lift weights.
Okay, you're a weights guy. Do you do cardio at all?
Oh yeah. I like to,
Okay.
I usually jog 2 miles a day, probably like 5 days a week, or
Okay.
I'll do yoga sculpt.
Oh, okay. What does that entail?
If you've ever been to Core Power Yoga, they have a yoga
Plug
sculpt
right
class. Yeah, little plug. They have like a yoga with weights and cardio class. It's an ass kicker. It's amazing.
Okay. Is it hot also? Like, is it Bikram or is it just
They'll do it hot randomly sometimes. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not really sure if it's supposed to be though.
like sometimes?
It's a lot worse than it is.
Yeah, I can imagine. The next one's I feel sexiest when I
Tan.
I am right there with you. I am like, now that I'm in New York, I was like walking the other day. I'm like, I'm going to go in this tanning place and just see like what it costs to tan here. And they're like, it's a $99 startup plus like $125 a month. And I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll just be pasty. I don't know.
Well, the key is you got to get the red light membership in addition.
Yes. Yeah.
So then you can tan without the guilt of like ruining your skin. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
I want one of those red
Doctors
light
are afraid.
machines.
I actually have a portable one in my house.
I have a little one for my face, but I want like one of the full body ones.
Nice. I didn't know they made full ones.
He has a sauna in his house too. He has like a sitting
I have a
sauna.
sauna.
Like Zach's
That's badass.
It's ridiculous. And then the last one is I feel most like a boss when I
Get a new pair of shoes.
Yes. Okay.
Best
Are you
feeling,
like
right?
Are you like a shoe guy? Are you sneakers guy, or what's your?
I like
What's your
fashion
MO
in general,
a little?
but I think shoes are my favorite. Probably Aldo's my go-to brand.
Okay.
Can't go wrong with Aldo.
See,
Can't go.
I love your answers because they're so honest. Where we've had people on the show, and look, I don't want to shade people. Like I'm a little shady, so they come on and they're like, I feel sexiest when I've meditated for an hour and I'm in tune with my mind, body, spirit.
Get out of here.
I'm like, bitch. Yes,
You're like,
I get
"There's no
it,
way."
but like. I feel sexiest with the spray tan. I feel sexiest when my hair has a fresh bleach. Like that's, I'm a little, but I'm in LA. I'm a little vain.
sexual stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, I feel sexiest after sex. Like that's cool.
Right, exactly. When I'm having sex is when I feel sexy.
The real answers come out. I'm so happy. So,
Aaron,
go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead, boo.
No, we both have so many questions.
We do.
So
we were
my,
emailing about it last night, and we like have a bullet point of things we want to like dive in with you on.
That's what Jenny said too.
So it's so intriguing for me because you grew up very like heavily in the church. Did you completely step away from that, or do you kind of integrate the two? Is it possible to be enlightened and still have a sense of religion, or like what is your summary of your findings, I guess, but between the two?
Yeah,
that's a loaded question.
It's a loaded question, but I'm super used to loaded questions, so I'm good with it. I stepped away from the institution completely, for sure. Okay. But you can never really step away from your upbringing and, the way that you were conditioned. I think it always kind of stays with you. And so I had to just learn how to integrate the good and throw away the bad. And it really wasn't that hard to do because, your heart knows what's true and what's good. And so the things that made me feel good, like, the teachings of Jesus, for example, I never saw a reason to throw those away. In fact, they actually kind of became more valuable to me over time. As my consciousness expanded more, I was able to kind of understand what Christ was really saying in a lot more of a nuanced way, I guess. I feel like the church doesn't do a very good job, or doesn't do Jesus very much justice to just how intelligent he was and how cutting edge his teachings were. So yeah, I kept a lot of the foundational stuff. My parents raised me really well and taught me about the love of God and the goodness of God. But I just threw away all the dogma that just wasn't necessary.
Is there any pushback from your parents with the kind of spiritual journey that you've gone on now that isn't, like, obviously I think you still think Jesus is a cool dude, but like you're not, worshiping Jesus as much with all of your, the Law of One and, these other, spiritual readings that you've now adopted?
Right. Yeah, it's kind of the question I get asked most often, I think, because people are really interested in, I think, the family dynamics in religion, especially if you grew up like a pastor's kid, like I did. People just assume, well, your parents must disown you, but I've been really lucky in that way that my parents are just the most marvelous people, and they're very open-minded. And I think probably my dad had more trouble with my beliefs than my mom did. Okay. But it was the kind of thing where I never tried to like have a conversation about it with them. In fact, I avoided it like the plague. I didn't want any kind of dissension between us. We've always had a really good relationship, and I wanted to, preserve that. So I avoided those kind of conversations, and I just sort of expressed myself as I wanted to on my own platforms. And I think as time went on, my parents and maybe more specifically my dad was able to see that, like, okay, he's not like gone off the deep end, or he's throwing everything we taught him out, and he's being rebellious or any of that stuff. He's actually teaching good stuff, just from maybe a different lens than I would look at it. And I think maybe certain issues like Jesus not being my Lord and Savior anymore probably have caused more unrest than I'm aware of, maybe, but we haven't had any kind of conversations about it.
So how do you put yourself, I guess, in one of the boxes that you would check? Like, what is your association? Is it agnostic then, or is it like what does that look like
in terms of like how I would
like if how you would identify or label?
What does it say on your Bumble profile as your religion?
Oh, I just put the spirituality one.
Yeah. So spiritual. Is that like your spiritual is like how you would identify?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
How do you identify?
As open-ended as possible.
I identify as Christian, but like I'm very like I grew up Lutheran, and I am like I still have like the core values, but I think everything's just so much looser in my life as far as like socially. But the Lutheran Church is a way more chill denomination also, so I don't think I ever felt like everyone like pastors get married, they drink, they have beer. Like, it's not like, I don't know. It's a little bit different. Like my parents, one grew up Catholic, one grew up Southern Baptist. So they were like so intense on very different ends of the spectrum. So they kind of found a middle ground. And I go to, where are you from, Aaron? I'm sorry. Where are you based
right now? I live in Colorado, Boulder.
Okay. So
you're from SoCal, right?
Yeah. Well, Northern California, Bay Area.
Northern. So I go to like a church called Mosaic. I'll go like on holidays or when I'm feeling like I need it, and I do really enjoy it, but I don't go to like a traditional church anymore with like communion and all of those things. I feel like I'm like right in the middle of like my time where I'm really like questioning things and kind of trying to find like a balance that works for my lifestyle too, because I don't think things are cut and dry. I think most of life is gray. So I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great place to be.
Yeah. What about you,
Aaron?
Zach?
I guess I'm a lot more like Aaron, where I'm a lot more spiritual. I was raised, Catholic. I thought I was going to be the first like male nun. I was like ready to devote my life to Jesus. Like I was here for it. And then I started questioning a lot of things. And I was like, the one like in class that would ask all the questions that didn't make sense, that the teachers didn't know how to answer. Like I had a nun go off on me in the 4th grade because I I pushed the boundaries, which is how I ended up, doing what I do now. But I've definitely gone.
Gangster.
I was a spiritual gangster from a very young age, and my mom kind of went on this journey where like she even went to India. She's just like, all right, guys, I'm gonna go to India for like 2 months, and I'll be back. Like, good luck. And so she went on her own spiritual journey, fell in love with The Secret, fell in love with I think she dabbled in like Buddhism a little bit, and so she kind of just went through her own spiritual journey and kind of brought me along with it, or just kind of gave me little gateway nuggets to kind of find my own awakening. And so I kind of had to, similar to Aaron, like get rid of the old conditioning that I was brought up with, that I think there was a lot of like prejudice and hatred that was kind of just embedded in the fabric of some of it. Not all of it, but at least in some of the churches that I was brought up in. More so my father's Christianity more than my mother's Catholicism growing up. But I, eventually realized like, hey, Jesus is a cool dude. I think I adopt more of like that blind men and the elephant theory. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, where like 3 blind men both all come across an elephant, and they each one finds the trunk, one finds a leg, one finds the tail, and they each think that they've found God, but God, or this creator, but the creator is such a bigger concept, but yet we're all kind of tied to the same concept, which is kind of like what I believe.
I was that girl. I was like, why is Jesus white, guys? Like, what's going? Like, literally, like everyone's like, we're in church. I'm like, no, but like, why? This doesn't make any sense. Like, that's always.
He was definitely Arabic.
I said, yeah, I'm like, he definitely is a brown man. Like, what are you guys doing? But I'm sorry.
No. Like I don't believe Jesus would be out there saying, signing anti-LGBTQ rights petitions. You know what I mean? So some of it is, But so Aaron, I think one of the things that you talk about a lot in your YouTube videos and on your Instagram content is reframing our story and kind of letting our perspective dictate our reality. I think a lot of us are attached based off of the conditioning that we were brought up in, whether it was really religious or even agnostic. We identify with the identity of who we used to be, and we struggle with the norms of our neighborhood and the beliefs of our parents and finding ourselves. What advice do you have to people that are kind of on this spiritual journey where they want to be a little bit more open, but they're maybe worried of letting go of the person that they used to be?
Yeah, fantastic question. Well, I think you need to first understand that like all different mediums are equally valid, like whether it's Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, they're all just different lenses through which we can look at this infinite divine mystery, right? So it's not that the one you grew up with is wrong and the other ones are going to be right and you're going to go find which one's right. That's the same kind of mindset of religion, right? Mm-hmm. But to just start with the appreciation of, okay, there's like, if I grew up Christian, there's a lot of gold here. There's a lot of beauty here. There's a lot of truth to be found here. And I can use this as a lens through which to experience God. And I should also allow myself the flexibility to explore other lenses, be it whatever religion's calling you, whatever is resonating with you, and understand that all of them are equally valid and none of them are more correct than another one in that way. And I think it's only when we cling to our any particular medium that we can sort of get into trouble. And that's not bad, because those of us who grew up religious, like I'm thankful I grew up Christian, and I'm thankful that I believe Jesus died for my sins and was murdered on my behalf, because even though I don't believe that now, it taught me a lot of lessons as a kid. It taught me, how to think about things in a different way, and it shaped me to who I am now. And life uses that stuff, right? Life uses all of our experiences to mold us, and it's all working for our good in the end.
Absolutely. kind of piggybacking off of like your life and your experiences, I was reading obviously one of your captions on your Instagram, and it was talking about how if you're living this story that you're in right now that you're not happy with, you're the one choosing to continue living in it because you're not ready to let go and move on to something else. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like I have that in people in my life around me where it's like, hey, you keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same answer. And it's almost like insanity's definition, how do you know when you're ready to move on? And how do you like look for that path to lead you where you want to go?
Yeah. Well, you have to get good at following your heart, first of all, right? Because life is an unfolding. It's not predictable.
Right.
And if you try to make it predictable, that's ego at work trying to control reality in a way that it can't be controlled. So you have to remain open and flexible to what life brings you. But in terms of stories, it's really like the most important and most liberating truth to sort of realize that in this universe, there is no such thing as victimization, meaning I am at the receiving end of something that is forcing me to believe a certain way. Life has dictated the way I see myself against my own will. That's the worst possible belief that someone can live their life with, because again, you create reality and that will be what your experience of life is. So rather to change your perception and understanding that I am the source of everything I experience, I'm the creator of it. So if I just change my perception of it, there's that old phrase that says, when you change the way you look at something, the thing you're looking at changes. So like, we're not talking about physical victimization because a bunch of guys could roll up in a van right now and tie me up, throw me in a sack and drive off. And there's nothing I can do about that. But I can choose not to internally be their victim, right? And that's really all that ultimately matters. Nobody can take my freedom from me unless I say so. So if you apply that to your life in every category, whether it's what you want to do for a living, who your partner is, who you're living your life with, life never forces anything upon us, but we allow things to come into our experience based on how much we know or don't know who we are. So if I don't know that I'm the creator of my reality, then I will let life make me its victim and carry me along places I don't want to go. But this is kind of the essence of self-empowerment, right? Is to take responsibility for your life, for the things that you've done, for the things that have happened to you. Say, all right, I'm going to learn from those mistakes and make sure I don't repeat them, because that's kind of what life is, right? Life will just keep delivering you the same lessons until you decide to learn it.
So how do we break up with it then? Because I feel like some of us aren't awake or not aware of it, where we think like, oh my God, like, okay, let's take the climate or the world is in right now. It's very heavy. This is a situation that feels like it's out of control. There are many people in our country right now that feel like their livelihoods are being tossed upside down. How do we then focus on the good versus, the shitstorm that we're going through at the moment?
Yeah. Well, there's a video on my channel where I talk about this called How to Change Your Beliefs. And, the idea is actually really simple, which is that a lot of people believe that to change a belief, like let's take like insecurity, for example. If I'm a really insecure person and I want to become a confident, self-loving person, well, I'm in this paradox, right? Where I never feel confident. So I just think that it's not accessible for me. Like it has to feel true to be true. And that's really where the hang up is, right? Is like your mind is what holds on to the beliefs, because they're really just conditioning patterns, right? Oh, I've always believed this about myself. So my mind just has it locked down and it's going to keep referencing it all the time. So I, as the consciousness, the awareness, have to make the decision. I no longer believe that about myself, but it doesn't feel true. Who cares, right? That's just the mind responding to your old belief. You have to just decide or desire for the new belief to be true. So the example that I give always is the example of a breakup, right? If you've ever had like a friend, like a girlfriend who was with some guy who was really awful to her, maybe he cheats on her or he's abusive in some way, and you're just like, come on, Susan, dump this guy. And she's like, yeah, but he's so sweet and he apologizes. And she has this kind of neediness with him, right? Something in herself that's not worked out yet. So she keeps going back to this guy over and over. You have all these phone calls with her. Eventually you get exhausted and you're like, look, I'm not talking to you about this anymore. You know what I'm going to say? Make the right decision and we'll talk after that. One day, eventually Susan has enough, right? The guy cheats on her for the 5th time and she's done. Something in her snaps. She kicks him out, throws his stuff out. And then she calls you and you're like, oh, finally, yes, I'm so happy you finally dumped that loser. That's exactly the process we go through with our beliefs, right? We think that this insecurity is my friend. It's keeping me safe somehow. It's keeping me out of harm's way. And you have to eventually start realizing it is the enemy, right? It is the cause of my suffering and it's not my ally. And eventually I get so sick and tired of being insecure that I just decide, like, fuck it, I'm just going to believe I'm confident. And you slowly kind of break up with that old version of you because you've been exhausted from it. And then eventually the new one just becomes manifest.
But it comes with the willingness and the decision to take that first step.
Yeah, the commitment to the new belief.
Mm-hmm.
You have to swear allegiance to it.
So what does that look like? Because I feel like when you are starting like a new process or a new belief system or something that maybe you're not, it's not your go-to. How do you recommend, or what are some tips you have for people to stay on that track? Like, do you write something on your ceiling so you see it every day when you wake up? Or like, what's the key there? Is there a key?
There's definitely a key. The simple answer is, if you want it, you're going to get it. Bottom line, right? So you have to have the real, authentic, sincere desire for it. When there's desire, there's no process, right? When I really want something, I don't have to work it out, go through a decontamination process or any of that. I just drop the old one. I'm sick of it. I can't stand it anymore. But there is in the time-space reality, there is a period where that does seem to be a process. But what I always tell people is really the desire itself is the change. Like, change happens in an instant when you finally get to the place where you are sick and tired of the old paradigm and you drop it. Like, you'd rather die than believe it one more second. Okay. In that moment, you have changed, right? But we think change takes time because it took me time to get to the point where I was finally sick of it, to break up with it, right? So what you could say in that period, that transition period, I'll put stuff on my phone background, a mantra, an affirmation. Like, every time I look at it, I'm just saturating my mind with it. Because the thing is, if I don't fully feel convicted of it yet, all I have to do is stay in that desire for it to be true. Like, just want it to be true. And if that means you put affirmations on your wall or your phone, then do it, right? But it's really just about reconditioning your mind and saturating yourself in what you rather believe than what you used to believe.
So what about people that say, just to play devil's advocate, people that are like, I want to have $5 million in my bank account next week, and I'm just going to think it and I'm going to believe it, and I want it to come next week, and then it doesn't come for them. People that want those big, grand, quick responses from the universe.
Right. Yeah. Well, those people are sort of skipping the primary step, which is embodiment. So like, the $5 million is the effect, not the cause, right? Mm-hmm. So if you haven't dealt with the cause yet, why are you even worrying about the effect? Meaning, if I still don't feel like a rich, successful, wealthy, empowered person, why am I asking the universe for $5 million? I don't have access to that reality. Like, the universe doesn't care what's in my bank account. It only cares what I believe about myself, right? So first I have to believe that I'm a person who's worthy of that. And that's what I have to work on. And you'll find once you actually embody the person who has access to that reality, then the reality just manifests eventually. But you can't have the reality if you're not the person first, right?
You can't be a rich bitch unless you think like a rich bitch.
Think like a rich bitch. Exactly.
There you go.
So I feel like the world is so heavy right now, and we're in this like combative, like Facebook feuding reality where like we just want to fight with everybody, probably because it's a lot of projection and there's like this ickiness inside that we want to spew out with other people. How do we not get caught up with the Facebook feuding and the battling people right now? Because like, I love to be right, Aaron, and I think I'm right pretty most of the time. But like, how do I not get caught up in fighting with crazy Susan on Facebook that, you know, that doesn't agree with my beliefs?
Yeah. Crazy Susan on Facebook. Well, I think a better way to look at that would be, you know, the bottom line is if you're getting caught up in it, that's what you have to do. That's where you are, right? And you have to honor that part of your journey. Like if I find myself in Facebook wars every day, then clearly this is my life catalyst right now and what life is using to teach me. So that's equally valid and I have to accept that. A better way to look at it would be, how can I use this as a catalyst for my growth, right? How can I use this as a mirror to see, all right, what imbalances are in me that I'm not seeing, that I'm on Facebook every day arguing with crazy Susan about Donald Trump? You know, that it's all just different ways of looking inside yourself and seeing what things maybe you haven't seen before.
Okay. So it's really about, I think when we use the mirror analogy, we tend to project it outwards and be like, oh, if you don't like something in me, that's something in the mirror that you see, but we don't often turn that around and realize that like the issues that we have with other people are sometimes a reflection of where we're at on our journey.
Right, exactly. And that's why it's super important to honor where you are in your journey, to be authentic about it. So if I really want to be on Facebook arguing, then do it. Right? You should do it.
Doing, right.
That's a lesson you need to learn. So give yourself that experience. And when that lesson's no longer valid for you, when you've learned that lesson, you'll find that you have no desire to be on Facebook arguing anymore. And that's the whole point of it, right?
So we shouldn't beat ourselves up if we haven't quite made it past the level that we're at.
Exactly. You should never pretend to be something you're not, because then you're just halting your progress, right? Oh, I'm not interested in Facebook arguments. I'm too spiritual for that. But really, you're like, oh, crazy Susan.
That's
just own it. Just argue, right? Own it. Yeah,
exactly.
Own it, baby.
Okay, now I'm like gonna have to go on Facebook and like check up on you now that I know that that's your weakness.
No, I've reached a level. No, I like at the beginning when we were all stuck inside, that's when I would like to like combat like with people, but more in like a fun way because I was bored at home and I wanted to entertain myself. Now I've just kind of reached a place where like I understand. I try to show up with like empathy and compassion, understand that people are really scared right now. People are going through a really heavy experience and like sometimes they need to engage in that. And I've gotten to a place where like I don't read every single comment. I don't engage with every single person anymore. Yeah. Or even if I do read it, I have a moment of like, I'm not going to let this into my consciousness. I don't have time for that, right? That energy right now, or that, you know, argument right now. So I'm just going to let you be you. I'll let you feel good about yourself for, you know, being a social justice warrior and putting me in my place. You do you, boo.
I love it. There's, are you guys familiar with Byron Katie?
Yes. I actually found Byron through Jenny.
Yes.
She's the one that kind of put her into my world.
I'm not familiar.
Well, you should be. She's amazing.
Okay. Who is she? What does she do?
She's a spiritual teacher. She's kind of like, if you know who Eckhart Tolle is.
Yes.
She's like literally a female Eckhart Tolle, basically.
Oh, okay.
She's amazing. She has she posted something on Instagram like a week ago that I'm going to botch it, but it basically said kind of what you were saying, Zach, like letting someone else be right, you know, avoiding an argument and letting someone else be right is an act of love that allows both people to win, because you get to be right and I get to be kind. So we both win, right?
Absolutely. And you know you're right in your own head.
There you go. My ego rules the day.
There you go. Exactly.
Aaron, do you have any closing or parting advice for us as we kind of go back out into the world that is really heavy and dark? I mean, I guess I shouldn't even say heavy and dark. The world is, like you said, what we make it out to be. But I feel like a lot of people feel that heaviness right now. Is there any parting advice to wrap up the conversation about what you think is there a message that you think people really need to hear right now?
Sure.
Other than follow me on Instagram?
Yeah, at Aaron Abke.
That was so smooth. I love that.
I think that the best thing that we can do in these kind of times is really just take the role of the observer. And, you know, a phrase I like to use is keep quiet, meaning don't be so quick to react and spread your opinion to everything all the time, but just sit back and observe not only what's happening in the world or how your friends and family are responding to it, but observe your own internal reactions to it, right? Just watch what judgments might come up for you, what guilt might come up for you. And just seeing something is the healing of it, is the beginning of the healing process for it. And I think if we're going to be in these kind of times, right, where, hey, nobody wants to be out wearing a mask all the time. You know, we can't go shopping. We can't go to movies. We can't go to restaurants. It's not like our ideal world right now. But if we're going to be in this world, we might as well make use of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're getting opportunities right now that we'll probably never have for the rest of our life. So for me, I just look at it as a golden opportunity for my growth. How can I accept this fully and completely? And again, acceptance doesn't mean we don't do anything. We sit on the couch and drool, right? I'm still going to, you know, go protest for racial injustice and all that good stuff. But I'm going to accept this is what life has brought me right now. And I can be fine with that and use it as my catalyst to show me what parts of me might be unloving, might be judgmental. And I think we'll all come out of this far better for it if we take that approach.
Absolutely.
Great approach.
Abigail, do you have any major takeaways that you want
We're out.
close the show with?
I think my biggest takeaway really is just living in the moment of what your truth is, whether it's something that you're proud of or something that you want to change or whatnot. It's really just identifying where you're at so that you can adapt to that to be where you want to be. And then also that, you know, you guys are pushing me a little more to get on the spiritual side of things and continue that whole path of discovery for sure.
I love it.
Love it.
I think my biggest takeaways are, one, you create your own reality. So if you want to continue suffering, you will continue to create that. Or if you want to move past that, you have to have the willingness and the desire to be able to push yourself out of that space. And then I think the other biggest takeaway was from the earlier part of our conversation, that religion or spirituality just in general are kind of subjective to the receiver. They're subjective to you personally. So you can absolutely think Jesus is a cool dude and then do a manifestation every morning and meditate. You know, it really is up to you and what works for you in your universe, in your reality.
Absolutely. Well said.
All right, Aaron, thank you so much for chatting with us today. Where can people go and follow you, catch your YouTube videos, and slide into your DMs to get your number?
Please don't slide into my DMs. I have enough of that already.
Like, I've got plenty of that. We're good.
Got the 99 plus requests on the side. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it.
I try to make it easy for people. It's Aaron Abke everywhere. So youtube.com/ Instagram, Facebook / Aaron Abke.
Abke, ABKE, right? Abke.
ABKE.
Aaron. There we go. All right, everybody, go and give Aaron a follow. Abigail, where can they follow you?
You guys can follow me on all socials at Abigail_AF.
You can follow me at JustPlainZach all over the internet. And don't forget to follow at The Adulting Podcast. Go to theadultingpodcast.com, sign up for our newsletter, and get ready. We have a lot of really good episodes to come later this season. Leave us a 5-star review because we are millennials and we do love that validation. And we appreciate the love. So please send us a little more love. All right, guys. Until next time, we'll be busy.
#adulting.
Yay, and we're out.